Thank you everyone for coming today. It's great to see everyone out. As the numbers keep getting bigger and bigger each week, so starting back in person. At this time, Kevin, if you join us for the invocation and pledge.
Thank you, President Larry, and it's good to be here today. Today, March 15th, is the Ides of March. Most of us may think of this as the day that Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group led by Brutus and Cassius. But long before in the Roman calendar, this, the 74th day of the year, was viewed as the day to settle debts. I'm not suggesting we go out as collectors today, but rather we reflect on our own lives and actions. To whom might we owe an apology or reconciliation? Perhaps this would be a good day to settle that debt. Let us reflect on the many blessings we have in our own life and wish those people in Ukraine safety and peace, but also consider how we might actively seek to help those in the Ukraine. Thank you for the many blessings of life and the chance to share this time with our fellow Rotarians. Amen. May I pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, this time, this guy doesn't want to cooperate. All right, so what I'd like to do is, no pass set the minutes out for last meeting. Anyone have any adjustments or changes? If not, membership birthdays this week. We have two. I have Pat, March 17th, Beverly, March 19th. Beverly. Did I miss anyone? I stopped counting after 21. All right, membership anniversaries. I have Chuck Dean after 12 years on 3/16. Thank you. Hey, Chuck, at this point, for your anniversary, we'll let you continue on with the welcome guests and happy box. See if you can get it turned on. We're not cooperating.
Okay, let's see what we can do. Well,
There you go.
I think we've got it.
We'll see.
Wow! Okay. Look at you!
Got a little bit of a light. We would like to meet visitors. We have some guests and all. Let's see. We have visitors. We have visitors at this end.
Oh, this is my brother, Brad. Oh, my brother, Brad, and he's from,
They're County Square, which is mushroom capital of the world. Yes. Now we have visiting with us Al Belk from Walton, New York. Where is Walton? 65 miles north of New York City. 65 miles north of New York City. Right. Right. Okay. Good for you, man. Welcome to Florida. Yeah. You do not have snow, but you can have to adjust to that.
I plowed snow before I came.
I'm glad you mentioned it.
Also, I brought my wife today, so it's pretty great. Elaine, appreciate you joining us today.
all right.
Elaine, are you a school teacher on spring break? Oh, all right. Did all the other school teachers go to the beach and get drunk? No? And you're the one that's assisting involved? Good for you. Okay. So we're now going to move to, we'll introduce our speaker guests later. We'll do Happy Bucks. So we have some people that are happy that want to tell us about good things in their lives.
I'm ready for that.
All right. All right. The true inspiration for old guys.
operators flying and dying from that stuff. 90 days with the results. So
I heard that.
Great for having. Welcome back, Nora. Okay. That's gotta happen.
I have two happy thoughts. Last Friday, I got to present to two audiences. Deb was there, who was this, and Larry, and who else was there? Am I forgetting? Well, anyway, we went to the Academy Community School and presented to the little ones. We presented the check from Rotary because they reached their reading goal of 42,000 minutes, and they did that in like 4 weeks.
Wow.
And so we did pass the gift. Of course, Dinah Carsey was there to represent Heather International, which takes the money that we send and they buy animals who need a more sustainable way of life. And animals enable them to make some money, maybe, and to have milk for their children and so on. And I think $2 for this little child. Anyway, presented to the little ones in one building, and we walked over and presented to the middle school kids. Two groups of kids who were taught how to be an audience. I was so impressed. They were all facing the same direction, and they had their lips in the right position. But they did have some good questions, and they were really cute kids, and I'm so glad that we have school like that in Dunedin. Very proud of them. Charter school is still gets money from the public. It's a public school. It is funded by our school system. But the children have, of course, a very special program with their parents. They're very much involved. But they have been doing a project. It's called Read to Be. Reading, and it's an incentive to them because they know they're going to be passing the gift on to people who really need a change in their way of life.
We're over $2.
Yeah, really, that's right. $10. I don't think that this Read to Be thing once a year.
It's a great. Okay. Okay.
I've got a $5 happy dollar. My ninth grade oldest granddaughter has just been elevated to the high school. She was elevated to the high school softball team and is a starter at first base. And they are 5-0. So playing very, very well.
Wow. I certainly feel a softball scholarship coming on here. Yes. And I see Sally Parks is with us with $1.
I do, and that is when Larry announced the birthdays. It reminded me about 15 years ago, we had a member who would announce the birthdays, not the president, but announce the birth year too.
Oh, yeah.
And Mayor Judy Gould almost quit Rotary because of that. Just like anybody's business how old she was. So I'm amused that you two were parlaying about ages. We don't announce.
No. I passed it at 29 20. I was 30 20 for 15 or 20 years. Okay, hey, Kelly.
All right, I've got a happy plug because we're 2 months away from the 2020 triathlon and we need volunteers. So I'm gonna pass this little list around and put your name on it. If I don't see your name, I don't get a call later, all right? Just write us all down. Okay. We'll start by volunteering for the triathlon. So now what we'll do is we'll do the happy block and the drawing. Dave, would you reach in and grab a okay. It's one of the red ones. And no, I can give out the green one because of St. Patrick's Day. We're at 988 59. You're using a different roll.
Zero.
Hold on, let me say that again.
It's 988-590.
Forget about it. It was
590.
Oh my God.
All right.
590. I got 590.
No, tell me, guys.
988-590.
998. That might be it. 590. That does look like. I'm gonna check your.
988-590.
988.
I think we need an auditor.
Take the road. Might have been different.
Guess what? We have two winners.
No way.
So instead of calling the cards, this fund, you each go $100 today.
What?
$100.
I donate mine back to the club.
Okay.
Pressure, Pat.
I have to tell you, yesterday I donated to the training, help, and I did it through Rotary.
Yeah.
And if you do that through Rotary and it goes to the foundation, then our club is supposed to match what I did.
I got you.
And I sent an email today with the receipt and he's going to double, I will have double impact.
Are you trying to justify taking them?
That also.
Oh, wonderful. Send mine too. Send mine
Okay,
too.
we'll do that.
Everybody,
We'll do that.
everybody in this club says a little bit, and our club matches it, will make it.
Let's hear it for Pat. Good job.
Yeah. I think that does it for us, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, this time, John, I believe you're going to introduce our program today. Thank you.
Oh, can I wear this up on my ear?
Yes, you can.
All right, today I have the honor of introducing Rick Johnny, the co-founder of the Suncoast Animal League. I've had the pleasure of knowing Rick for a number of years. He's the co-founder and executive director of Suncoast Animal League, the Palm Harbor-based animal welfare organization shelter that is distinct by virtue of caring for both domestic animals and wildlife. He goes way back to the Humane Society of Pinellas, which had been previously Clearwater SPCA, where he spent 20 plus years as the executive director there. I believe that Rick wanted to actually have a smaller location that truly was a no-kill shelter. He addresses some of the Suncoast distinct traits, including that it operates a much smaller facility than comparable organizations, which places a greater premium on fostering, and related to that is a powerful, nimble, and fast social media operation, which at practically a moment's notice can find foster homes for dozens of animals, allowing you to step in and help other shelters that have excess animals. Their big festival is Dogtoberfest, a giant adoption event featuring upwards of 30 rescues with adopted animals, and I know they regularly participate in at PetSmart with adoption. So on a personal note, speaking of the speed in which his social media works, about 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in my office on a Friday afternoon, and my sister sent me a text and said, "Did you see the Suncoast Animal League's website?" And I was like, "Well, let me look." And there was an Old English Sheepdog, 10 months old. I already have 2 Old English Sheepdogs, and I was like, like that. So I called immediately and was able to set up an interview for a meet and greet with my existing dogs. And the good news is Dixie/Trixie is now at home. Is a member of the household. So also for me to be able to find the breed of my choice and participate in a rescue situation rather than a breeding situation. But they have an excellent website, and they have excellent posts on Facebook and Instagram, showing all the work they do. They're unique in that they travel all over the Southeast, going to other shelters that don't have the luxury of being able to provide the help that they do. So I welcome Rick Chavity, and I have nothing to say about Carrie, but Carrie is here too. Maybe Rick will work you.
Yeah.
I guess you have the
Oh, okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for inviting us here. And you know what? It's really nice to be able to do something like this again after the past couple of years. So everything's starting to get back into the swing of things and the way things used to be. And this is Carrie Burek. Carrie's a volunteer of ours. She's one of our very special volunteers. She does so much. And I'm going to have her tell you about some of the things that she's involved in that you may not realize that shelters get involved with some of the getting out into the public and the use of some of our dogs that have been handicapped by either birth defects or abuse, and that have them out in the community helping others with like domestic abuse and such. So she'll talk about that. And we also have two other special guests that are sound asleep right now.
Would you like a Ricola?
Pardon?
I have Ricolas, would you like one?
I think I'm okay now.
Get over next to Rick. You want the camera.
Now these, pardon?
Right here.
Oh, there we go. These puppies are 2 of 13 that we assisted. John had mentioned how we assist other shelters, and they're from Hardy County. The 13 were found when they were 1 week old out in the woods, and the sheriff's department found them and brought them to the Hardy County shelter. Hardy County. We had just been up there that morning and rescued about 15 dogs from them. And they called us. We're almost back to our shelter in Palm Harbor. And they're like, can you turn around and come back and get these? And well, we made arrangements for somebody to bring them down. And so for the past, they're 5.5 weeks old right now. So for the past 4.5 weeks, we've been losing a lot of sleep by bottle feeding. What we do is we, like in this case, since we were 13, I took 4 home, Carrie took 4 home, and another volunteer took 5 home. And right, is that what I'm talking about? You know, so, and all 13 survived, which is pretty much a miracle on something like that. Because that one, and people talk about, you know, cost on things, and you get these cute puppies and how easy it is and such. But when that one was about 3 weeks old, we kept eating. But unlike most puppies, you know, they eat and they go to the bathroom. This one couldn't go to the bathroom. And we had noticed when they came in that it appeared that they had been eating a lot of sand and dirt. This one had complete blockage, had to spend 2 nights at Blue Pearl. Probably about 22 enemas because he was too young to do surgery on, and finally he came out of it okay and everything's all good. And you know, but so all 13 survived, which is pretty much a miracle. But we do have a long reach, and we assist Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, Alabama, during a hurricane, Louisiana, Mississippi. So we're all over the place. In fact, tomorrow we've got about 15 cats and about 10 dogs coming in from Alabama. Then on this weekend, we have 7 dogs coming from the Bahamas. They're supposed to come in last weekend, but because of the weather, the flight couldn't make it. So we have this huge reach, and we have 157,000 people that follow us on Facebook. So it's pretty amazing. We started out this little tiny shelter So when I left the Humane Society, so we could do a little bit more than without restrictions and do what we actually needed to do. And that was basically when you get an animal in, take care of it to the fullest extent, which is not cheap. Because like I said, this little guy ended up being about a $1,500 puppy after just 48 hours in the vet's office. So, but we averaged our average vet bill is $20,000 a month. And again, because we reach out and we help so many animal services and stuff in the Tampa Bay area and in Highlands County and such, we get a lot of the worst case scenarios. Dog gets hit by a car, needs orthopedic surgery, they call us. We have a dog that was burned by the owner, according to someone, Kerry will tell you about that, with the house on fire. And, $28,000 later, Denali survived. So we get some of the worst case scenarios that you can imagine, and we take them all the way through. We do everything that we can possibly do to make sure that they are better for their stay with us. We do cats, we do dogs, we also do wildlife, and wildlife season is coming up. In fact, just down the street here last year, we had a baby osprey come out of its nest, and we were able to get a tree company to come out and get us up on the bucket truck and put the baby osprey back up into the nest. So our reach extends beyond just the cats and dogs. I'm going to let Kerry tell you a little bit about what we do out into the public. We'll do a switch.
I'll trade you. All right. Has anybody in here heard of Denali? You know Denali's story? No. So it has a very sad beginning. She unfortunately was collateral damage in a domestic dispute between a husband and wife. There was a divorce talked about. Husband was overseas at a job, and they talked about divorce on the phone. She was very upset about the conversation, so she started to graffiti the house on the inside and then on the outside. And at that point, I don't think she was satisfied, so she started to throw paint and paint thinner, different things around the house, pretty much destroying the house on the inside. There were 7 dogs that were in the home. She let 6 of them out into the backyard. She took Denali, Brindle Pity Mix, put her in a crate, poured chemical accelerant on her, and then lit the house on fire. And then she sat in the driveway. So Pasco County Fire Rescue showed up to the house. It ended up being a 2-alarm fire, so several stations were there. And they actually found Denali before the fire got to her. But what happened is that accelerant that was on her soaked down through her fur into her skin, and she ended up with what would be considered 3rd-degree chemical burns over about 35% of her body. She spent 17 days in the ICU at Blue Pearl. She had less than a 50% chance of survival. Rick and I, we did the transport. I did the transport. How I got involved with Suncoast Animal League is I began volunteering with them, and we would sponsor. That one's a little active. We would sponsor dogs that had special needs, special injury, illnesses. That's kind of where my interest was, and my coworkers. And eventually, I started being a medical foster. And then also doing wildlife rehab. My background is in science education. I worked at Lowry Park Zoo at River Creek Preserve as a hike guide. So on the day that this happened with Denali, I was also a transport volunteer. And so transport volunteers go to different locations where the animals are. It could just be taking them to the vet, or could be picking them up, the rescue ride. So I actually went and picked up Denali on that day, and she was at Pasco County Animal Services, and transported her to Blue Pearl. From that point on, Rick and I basically went to visit her every day. We had many conversations with Dr. Lee, who was her surgeon, about her pain management. That was really what was stopping her from healing because she had what was called wind-up pain, which her brain, basically her nerves and her brain were telling her that her whole body was burned instead of just the areas that were burned. So Dr. Lee called her colleagues across the country, and she found the right concoction to stop the pain, and it's called the Denali cocktail. So now, anytime a dog comes in that's severely injured, and unfortunately we've had several after Denali, they get the Denali cocktail, and basically right away the pain subsides and then their body can heal. So Denali went through about 64 days more of bandage changes. I told Rick if she survived, I would love to foster her. So she did come home with me, and I was driving back and forth to Blue Pearl every couple of days to get her bandages changed. She was wrapped in bandages from her head basically down to her back end. And her story is unique because, you know, the community really rallied around her and people recognize her, you know, now years later. This happened in 2018. When she's out in public, they recognize her because she became more than a dog to the Suncoast animal community and the Tampa Bay area. She became the symbol of hope and kindness because through all of it, she never lost her spirit. We would get videos of her bandage changes and she would be wagging her tail. And, you know, when a dog goes through such a traumatic event, you really don't know what kind of personality they're going to come out with. Is she going to like to be around people? Is she going to like other animals? And her biggest, I think, her favorite thing to do, I think, is to make new friends and to meet people. So I decided to adopt her. I couldn't let her go. And she actually took me down the road of therapy work. So seeing how she was so happy to meet people and how kids and people lit up when they met her, we went through CGC training, which is Canine Good Citizen, which is basic manners. And then we did community Canine Good Citizen, and then we went through therapy dog screenings. And she is now a certified therapy dog for a therapy team. She goes to schools, clubs, you know, anywhere where she's invited. She's a pie pup, so you might see us if you're traveling out of St. Pete Clearwater International Airport. You may see us there because Project Pup, where we're certified through, has a program partnership with the airport. So we're there once a week, walking around, talking to travelers, visiting with TSA and the employees. But I think probably one of her most inspiring roles that she has as a therapy dog is we visit once a week a domestic violence shelter safe house. And so we go there and we visit the ladies and the kids. And at this point, I was told by the staff at the domestic violence shelter that due to COVID and, you know, how they had to screen people coming in, that these are the families and the ladies that are pretty much running for their lives at this point. So they've had some serious things happen to them. And when they see Denali and they know what she's been through and they can see that she's overcome that and she's full of hope and kindness and happiness, you know, some of them have been there for a while and they haven't smiled or you know, really want to take them out of their room and socialize. And when Denali's there, everyone comes out and they chit chat, we talk, and not necessarily about anything that has happened, but just about what's going on during the day, what Denali's been doing. And it's made such a difference there. It's just amazing.
And that's that's a horrendous situation that we were able to take something very, very bad and make something very, very good come out of this. And that speaks volumes to our supporters, our volunteers, our staff members and such. We also have a couple of dogs that as puppies were found, one in Alabama and one in Georgia, were they were burned, not by abuse, but actual house fires. In fact, in one of them, the owners died in the fire. The puppies escaped. They are now working, they are working members of the Madeira Beach Fire Department and the Palm Harbor, Westlake Palm Harbor Fire Department. The dogs are there. They're basically therapeutic dogs for the firemen that go on calls. They see something really bad and they're able to come back to either Clover or to Ruby. And so it's a pretty amazing thing that the animals have the capabilities of doing. And one of the things that we look at, of course, we want adoptions. but it goes so much further than that one puppy, one of these puppies getting adopted and going into a family. These little ones like this, they have the ability to change the entire dynamics of a family situation. And especially when they have kids, and the kids, it may be the kid's first responsibility of somewhat taking care of a live being. It may, because cats and dogs don't live as long as we do, it may be the first time that the kids lose a loved one, and they have to be able to, it teaches them to deal with the loss of a loved one. And then as they go out on their own and they start their own families, they're going to remember this one puppy and how it came into the household, and they're going to turn around and do the same thing. And then their kids are going to turn around and do the same thing. And it just goes on and on and on. So these animals, the puppies and the dogs and the cats, they have this ability beyond what a lot of people think. It's it's a cat, it's a dog, but they really can change an entire family and how people look at life and such. So, anybody have any questions?
How are shelters funded for organizations like yourself?
Well, it's pretty much donations. It's fundraisers. One of the problems that we had with COVID was all fundraisers were put on hold. So we probably, during that 2-year period, we lost over $200,000 in fundraising events. But again, we have 157,000 people on our Facebook page. We're very transparent with our rescues and the different things that we do, and people step up and help us make it through that time. Now, the fundraisers are just starting to get back, and John mentioned Oktoberfest. That's at Highlander Park in Dunedin. And for the first time in 2 years, we were able to hold that event last November. But that's basically fundraisers, donations. That's pretty much how. A lot of times people leave us in their wills. And so that's how we make ends meet. And like I said, our vet bills are $20,000 a year, and then, a month. And then since, and special cases that, like the Nolly situation and such. And that was all paid for by donors from all around the country and the world, as far as that goes. But some of the things that changed during COVID is the fact that it used to be we get a cat or dog in, we get them spayed or neutered, we have them up for adoption in 10 days or so. Now, with COVID, it's taking us 4 to 5 weeks to get that cat or dog spayed or neutered. So everything's been changed on how we do things, and we have to depend on our foster parents. I mean, our building's 1,600 square feet, so it doesn't hold a whole lot of animals in that. So we depend on the fosters, and it just keeps. It's not getting any better. And you have one vet's office that breaks with COVID, that goes down for 2 weeks. That's 25 to 30 appointments, 25 to 30 spays and neuters that get canceled. Now we're even further behind. So we are actively at this point in time looking to do our own spay and neuter clinic, hire our own veterinarian, and to be able to get things going. So that's our new goal here in the upcoming future. So
Rick, are you a 501c3?
we are a 501c3, yes.
I don't know if you know that we have small grants, not under $20,000 category, but you might be eligible to apply for one and consider it. So
we'll definitely look into that, because the grants helped us get through the whole COVID situation too. So.
Those grants are due March 31st. All you have to do is go to our website, there's a form there you fill out, it's like one payout for program.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds good.
Do you post your adoptables on the website?
We do post our adoptables on the website. That's the best place to find out what we have. Like, for instance, the dogs that are coming in tomorrow are already posted on the website.
On Facebook.
Or on Facebook, I'm sorry, on Facebook. It's Facebook's the place to go. And we haven't even personally seen them. We're just getting pictures from Alabama, but they're already out there. And a lot of times we will do we may bring in 45 animals from, say, Alabama. And one of the things that'll happen is we post them prior to, and very often we have, by the time they come in, and by the end of the day, we've got 43 of the 45 in the foster homes, or something along those lines, so.
Might name one of the puppies Dave, he's the chairman of our,
I was just telling Tom, if you don't give me a puppy, no matter how much I have.
Well, we have plenty of them. Like I said, there's 13 of these little ones running around out here, so.
How old are they?
They're 5.5 weeks old right now. Yeah, they're actually quite mature. They took to the bottle right away, so that made it a little easy for us, but yeah. But
What is Blue Pearl that you mentioned? I don't know what that is. Is it a veterinary?
Blue Pearl is a specialty hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's one in Clearwater, there's one in Tampa, there's one in Brandon, but they are a specialty, and they're very, very good at what they do, and
We got to know them very well.
we've got to know them very well. Yeah, we're a preferred customer.
Yes.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. They're not cheap,
No,
but they, you know,
they find the answers.
they do. They find answers. There's a lot of situations that the animals would not have survived if we hadn't put forth the efforts to get them there and have them do it. So there's a lot of times we get a call from, say, Pasco County Animal Services. They have something that's badly injured, and we take them directly from Pasco to Blue Pearl instead of even bringing them back to the shelter at that point in time. And we just had a dog from Pasco that came to us, King, 8 years old, and he had the largest mass I've ever seen on a dog's leg. It was unbelievable. We ended up having surgery, it was removed, it wasn't cancer, and he's doing great, but the mass weighed over 10 pounds. Yeah, and it was an amazing thing. But those are the kind of situations that we get into all the time.
Rick, do you get pro bono work for some of the vets?
No. We get a discount, you know, we work with, we probably have 3 vets that do basically our spays and neuters, and then we have different general vets, several in Dunedin, that more specialized in some of the things that we need to, and then when it's beyond what they can do, then that's where Blue Pearl comes in to play, or Dr. Hay over in Tampa, who's an orthopedic surgeon, that kind of thing. And part of it is, you know, you can amputate the leg for $300, or you could spend $4,000 and save it. And that's what we try to do. Animals can't count, but we can, and so we want them to come out with more. You know?
What's unique to your organization that you get pets from Alabama or Bahamas and Party County?
Well, it's a reputation, and it kind of goes back to when I was at the Humane Society. We did those kind of things there. We do them more now. And what we look at is some of these animals that we get from, say, Alabama, they may have been in a shelter up there for 3 years. They come here, and 40
hours, yes.
Yeah, within hours, we have them in a foster home, and then a lot of times that foster home ends up adopting them, like John's going to do right now. You know, but you know, but I mean, that's the amazing thing. We have that ability that up in the rural areas they don't have that. You know, and I mean, we've even gone to the point where, like the group that's coming in tomorrow, especially on the cats, that it's taken so long to get vet appointments here. They don't have that issue up there. So we're actually having their veterinarians up there do the spay and neuters, and then after they've had time to recuperate, then transport down here. We're paying their vets to do it. So when they get down here, we'll just have a couple of day turnaround and be able to get them out there. And also, John mentioned PetSmart. We're fortunate enough to have a big, strong relationship with PetSmart and corporate. And we also have, if you've ever been into PetSmart, you notice they have cat rooms. But we have the countryside cat room. Yeah, they have a built-in, and some of the newer PetSmarts are state-of-the-art. cat rows, adoption rows. So we were fortunate enough to have Countryside, which is an older PetSmart, but then Trinity and Oldsmar, which are newer ones, have state-of-the-art. And so we have our cats up there for adoption. They go up there and they just stay until they're adopted. And so it's a pretty incredible relationship and that stuff. And we're actually, lately we've been having trouble keeping up with the supply because, because of the demand on them. It's been really good, so.
Wait a minute, Pat. I'll let Pat explain it.
Okay.
Each week, we ask our speakers to sign a book, and the book is donated to an elementary school library. And Poetry Month is coming up in April, so this is a book about poetry that, that's a wonderful book. If you want to feel really good about what's going on in our world, read a children's book today. Go to the Dunedin Public Library, just sit down and read a children's book. They're fabulous. Read it to a child. Or read it to a child even better.
Thank you.
And also, this is perfect because Carrie's been asked to bring Denali to be read to. Hugo and Denali to be read to at the Largo Library.
All right. Well, dogs are very popular at libraries. Does that surprise you? No. They are. There's one guy carries his dogs around. It's called it's like a circus of little carriers. Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh,
where is he? Moved around.
Just so you know, we're missing one.
We have a puppy missing in action. What's going on? All right, Sally. Next week's program.
The next week's program will be a wonderful surprise, just like it was.
All right. There'll be a suspense for next week, so folks, stay tuned. Okay, at this point, announcements. We mentioned earlier, the grants committee, we're still accepting grants till March 31st. So remember, any nonprofits you think we can help, this here Help Dunedin, please keep them in mind. Yes, David.
I'm looking for indicators between April and June. So you want to sign up, see me, and I'll sign you up. We already got the tickets.
Wendy?
I haven't run this by my committee, but I'm going to propose something because I saw Phyllis Gorsuch, I think her daughter, is heading up at the library. It's for Dunedin Cares. It's a cereal. They're collecting cereal boxes. And I'd like to propose that we collect cereal boxes and bring them to the next meeting, and I'll get them over to the library.
Boxes with cereal.
Cereal and cereal boxes. Don't beat the cereal first. But we have a quarterly Dunedin Cares, and I thought that'd be kind of cool. And Phyllis was here last week, so that'd be good to partner up with her and the library and her daughter. Okay.
Thank
so
you.
Bring your boxes next week, and I'll get it over to the library.
All right. Anything else?
Boxes of cereal. Lucky Charms for the week. Cereal boxes.
Oh, just a box of cereal. Bring 2, 3, 4, 5 next week, please.
Thank you.
Also, quickly, board, for those of you who can stay, we had the panel to talk about membership for a few minutes. Those who can stay for triathlon, if you didn't sign a sheet, or if you have questions about the triathlon, Dave would be more than happy to help you until I get done with the board and throw them out of the building.
We didn't get the sign-up sheet at this table, I don't think.
That means you got drafted for everything. You're covered.
Well, let's see what happens.
At this point, I'd like everyone to stand and join me forward. First, is the truth. Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will build good relationships
And fourth, thank you everyone for coming out today. I really appreciate it. Hope to see all of you again next week. We are adjourned.